We weren't recording audio.
That's all right.
Now we're recording audio. I want to make
testing.
sure the cameras are getting us.
Everybody didn't have to hear my sibilous and 1-2s.
Can you move this way just a smidge?
Yeah, of course.
See the camera right there?
Hey, guys.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Hey, don't shit. Man, all of the things that I thought was going to go wrong, it's 17 seconds in and it's already going wrong. Table shaking. You're out of focus. Actually, I think we're in focus now. All right,
looks like
there it is. There's the other thing. My phone is making the thing go off.
static.
Yeah. Hey, cheers,
Radio
buddy.
waves.
Cheers.
Good morning.
Good morning to you,
Cheers
sir.
and good morning.
We're gonna. So, all right, right away. That's smoke, man. That is. So I like smoke because I walked into this place, and your smokers were cranking out some meats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's two. I think they run pretty much 12 hours a day for sure. Two twin smokers. I'll show you when we go out back.
Yeah.
And slabs of brisket, bacon, pork, chicken. There's always something in there.
Man, you. I don't know why, but I mean, I've been here several times. And it never hit me the way that it did today.
Yeah.
It was just different, man. Today was different.
The morning, the smoke really just billows out, and you can
Yeah.
smell it all around the building. When I come up in the morning, half the time, and I'm
Yeah.
walking up those stairs right above the smokers, I'm like, oh, yeah.
No shirt on, just chest out, chest hair out, everything. All right, so this is a smoked type of beer I'm smelling here, right? Am I smelling
There's
it
a
correctly?
wood element to it.
Okay. All right, it's a barrel aged beer. All right, that's not. I need to learn more about the barrel because they're not usually my style. So I'm kind of dumb about them.
I'm not. I'll drink a barrel aged once in a while, but it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that's the first thing I find.
Yeah.
I usually want something crushable and something that I not session per se, but something that I can have a few of. And this is a difference. This one I've been trying to sip on every time I get a chance when I come down here. And
nice. What is this?
so this is our barrel aged winter warmer. So we took our very popular winter warmer, and I'm almost 100% positive that thing sat in barrels for about a year.
Okay.
So this is 2020's winter warmer.
Yeah.
That was aged in a Sacred Stave barrel, Sacred Stave being our whiskeys.
Yeah.
And we just tapped it probably about a month ago. And
Okay.
I'm shocked that it's still on tap because I've been drinking the hell out of it. But there must be another bullet or two left.
Man, can I get a growler of this to go home?
Oh, yeah.
Just kidding. Those don't go home in growlers.
Yeah,
disclaimer. Right?
that might not go that well. I mean, a growler or Arkansalas obviously is probably good.
Yeah. I've seen people go up to bars. I'll be sitting there having a beer, and someone's like, "What's your highest ABV?" And they've got a growler, and the other on the other side of the bar is like, "Shit, man! Like this 5% blonde ale we have is the strongest."
I wonder if dispensaries feel that these days, where people just come in and go, "Give me the highest testing strain you have."
100%.
Yeah.
Guarantee you they do.
Same thing in beer. Beer Fest, you know how it goes. Every beer festival, the first questions we get are, "What's your strongest beer here?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, let's go down the list.
How high do you want to start? You want
Yeah.
to go in reverse? Or, dude, that didn't even fall out. That was like it was on the rim and everything. So, Alejandro, thanks, buddy. It's
Eric,
long
good to have you in the
overdue.
building, man.
Dude, this is great. So this is just one piece of the Santan empire at this point, right? As you were quoted, I think world domination.
This is one step closer to world domination
One
of
step
the
closer.
big bad Santan Empire.
Yes. Well, let's go back to the beginning. So, are you from Arizona originally?
Born and raised. I'm
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
I was born at the hospital 2 miles down the road, Chandler
Oh,
Regional.
no shit. Okay.
Which so my roots are really around in this neighborhood and in
Yeah.
this area. The funny thing is, I didn't live in Chandler until about 5 years ago.
Okay.
I've always lived in Mesa, Gilbert, Tempe, like around the Southeast Valley, and I finally grew up here. 2007 we opened our doors right before the economic recession hit.
Yeah.
Which is a great time to open a business.
Dude, right? Like weathering right into the storm, like right at the end of Dexter. He's just like, I'm going right into this thing.
And Anthony, he built this like game plan for how, his business plan for how he wanted to run Santan and all that.
Yeah.
And he opened the doors and all of a sudden just chaos ensues.
Yeah.
And you just imagine taking your business plan, you just spent years and not even years writing it, but also years brainstorming it. And you just throw it in a fireplace and go, well, hope I make good beer.
Yeah. Dang.
And apparently he made good enough beer. And the food was great. And I wasn't around in town. I was actually out east for a few years living out there.
Okay.
While Santan was getting open and up and running. And by the time I came home and came back to go to school, I was delivering some pizzas for Barrows. And decided, you know what, I want to get back into serving and put my name in here. And
Yeah.
here I am almost 10 years later and running the sales team now. And
Hell yeah, dude.
it's been a fun ride, man. And I get to hang out my roots and my streets, kind of where I grew up. And
Yeah.
it is a very rewarding position to be in, and it's super fun. And at the end of the day, it's beer and whiskey and all the things we're making.
And espressos. You were making an espresso earlier, right?
Not a Santan espresso per se, but if you want an espresso martini or something, come and see Natasha
you
here
go.
in Spirit House.
Okay. Which is where we're at. We're in the Spirit House.
So flash forward, right? Everybody knows the Santan history for the most part. At least your listeners probably do.
We're going to get back into it, though. We're not going to make that assumption,
we-
Alejandro.
okay,
I'm going to nail you with some,
All right.
some questions.
Santan grows and grows. Eventually, we get into spirits about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And just like the pub, where it was a playground for, what beers do we want to make? Can we get feedback on it from guests? We needed something similar for our spirits. And this that you're sitting in was all shelving and storage space
Okay.
in a commercial area in downtown Chandler that just drove the owners crazy. And they're like,
Yeah.
let's turn it into something else. And
Yeah.
so we decided to turn it into a lab and a playground for our spirits. And
And what year was this one open? This-
we'll hit our 3-year anniversary this
Okay.
year. So
Okay. 'Cause
2019.
I do kind of remember that, right? I mean, it was just like kind of a
Yeah.
nondescript, like
Yeah.
just like this is storage.
Yeah,
right?
that's all it was.
Yeah.
And they finally said, nope, clear it out. Let's turn it into a retail space, and let's find somewhere where we can play with our spirits and learn, certain things about cocktails and make up
Yeah.
our own. And Natasha's done a great job doing it so far. She's been the spearhead of this building and really the heart and soul of this building with her fancy competition check up there, her first one in the back corner.
Nice.
She's been doing a fantastic job, just really elevating our spirits game. And if you ever get a chance, pop in here at night and come say hi to her and the crew. And it's got a totally different vibe than what you're used to up front in Santana.
For
and
sure.
stuff like that.
It really does. Yeah, it really does. I don't smell the smoke as much in here, like the meat smoke.
Which it's closer, so it's surprising because
It's later in the day, which comes full circle. That's why I never smell it, because I'm here later in the day.
And part 2 of this podcast will be actually in front of the smoker. We're just going to go sit out there.
I had a vision of you. You were saying you walked. These are your streets. I see you walking the streets in slow motion with the smoke coming out behind you.
Just pure mesquite up in the
Yeah.
air,
Is that it? Mesquite? You guys use mesquite?
I think so. I'd
Yeah.
have to double check.
I'm not kidding. Nobody cares but me.
Listeners, if you can smell right now.
It's fantastic. So, all right, back up. So, with you, grew up here. Did you have a path in mind for yourself? Like, as far as was there something that you wanted to do?
Accounting.
Okay. Nice. Dang,
So,
man. That's
in
not what
high school, I
expected.
wanted to be a sports journalist in the worst
Okay.
way.
Okay.
I went to, I was in journalism classes for 6 years in high school. And I thought for sure that I was going to be the next big beat writer for the Cardinals or something. And it's funny that my high school buddy actually was the beat writer for the Cardinals for a long time. And I thought I was going to go down this path. And then I had a horrible journalism teacher my senior year out in Virginia. And that just absolutely derailed my
Why? Like, what was it about it that made it so bad to leave
I think it was a combination of just like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then also looking up there's no such thing as holidays in journalism. The pay is garbage, obviously.
Yeah.
No journalists do
It's
not.
a passion.
get-
That's a passion path for sure, for the most part.
And so, in your 19, 20, 21 years, that's kind of where you start to focus is not where am I in 5 years, but where am I in 10 years or so like that.
Yeah.
And, I just started doing more thinking about it. I ended up coming back to go to school, and I decided, okay, I have to decide something.
Yeah.
And at that point, I'm relatively good with numbers, spreadsheets, and all that fun stuff. And
Fun stuff, you say.
for some people,
You mean it too.
it's I can handle that stuff. And I was like, you know what? There's always going to be a need for accountants.
Dude,
There's-
absolutely.
As
Yep.
long as there's business and commerce, there's a need for an accountant.
There's always going to be a shortage of people who don't want to work with numbers.
Yeah.
Right? Or not. Yeah.
And so I went down that path, and that actually was while I was working here. So I was going to school at Chandler Gilbert and serving tables here and trying to do both. I eventually joined the sales team. And I'm a huge ASU fan, and people were like, "Oh, when did you go to ASU?" And I'm like, "Well, I got my acceptance letter when I was at Chandler Gilbert, and then shortly after I got my acceptance letter is when I applied to join the sales team here.
Okay.
And got the promotion, and I had one of those. Where am I going? Fork in the
Sure.
roads.
Yeah.
I can, take the time and go to ASU and get my CPA and all that fun stuff through WP Carey, or I can go this other way and try the sales team and give it my full go, because there's no way I was going to be able to juggle school and a full-time sales job.
Yeah.
And I decided, you know what? Let's go with the beer side. Let's go with the sales. Let's see if I have what it takes to do this. And that's what's led me to here today, and just sticking it out for so long. And I'm just one of those people that just kind of puts my head down, just keeps working, and I try to block out the noise around me for the most part.
You got to.
Yeah.
Right,
you
yeah.
you have to.
Yeah. Some gets through sometimes, and it's like,
It does.
I'm glad I got through.
It really
you know?
does. And that's when you call a buddy and you're like, let's grab a beer. I got some shit to get off my chest.
I got this barrel-aged winter warmer here, yeah.
So, yeah, and then eventually took over the sales team.
Were you
not this past November, but the year before?
Okay. Now, were you a craft beer guy coming into?
No.
Okay.
I kind of have an origin story like most people do, where I was, drinking just regular, nondescript beer when I was living out in Virginia when I turned 21. Because that's when everybody starts drinking officially.
For sure, yeah, absolutely.
I was drinking Natty Light, and then if we had money, we bought Yingling.
Okay.
Hell yeah! Yeah, that was payday beer, right?
Yeah.
Was let's go out and get that Yingling. let's go.
Get the whole 30 pack.
Yeah.
The whole 30. Whoa, I almost knocked that off.
Yeah, it was. It's funny just to put it out like that, but that's what we did, And if we really didn't have money, it was Bud Ice or whatever 40 we could go.
Yes, yeah, high octane, right?
Yeah.
What is your highest alcohol? You go into Circle
highest?
K's asking them.
And so when I came back from out east, that was all I was really exposed to. And I'll never forget, the whole reason that my path started to Santan was when I was working at Barrows. We had Devil's Ale and Epicenter on at every Barrows location in town, every single one.
Yeah.
And I remember trying Devil's Ale and going, blech.
Yeah.
No thanks. Not
Why
my
do people
style.
drink this? Yeah.
But I did enjoy Epicenter, which, as I came to Santan and learned, we call it the gateway to craft beer for a reason, as most ambers are.
Yeah.
It was something that was approachable and easy to drink, and it was different enough from Yingling, which is more of like an amber lager.
Yeah.
But it was close enough that I was like, okay, I can enjoy this, and eventually, I did start to appreciate Devil's Ale. It didn't take me training my tongue on hops or anything. It was just, okay, not every dark beer is going to be something aggressively hoppy.
Yeah.
I can get into this. It's got some sweetness, some backbone to it. And that eventually led me to trying Devil's and having an appreciation for it. And then I was like, wait, these guys are from Chandler? I was born in Chandler.
Yeah.
Okay, let's check it out. They got a restaurant? Great. Maybe I can go back to serving tables, and because it's always a great time and it's a great job. And
Yeah.
I remember when I applied here, Jamie, one of the managing partners, he's like, well, I got position for busing. I was like, cool, I guess I'll do it. If you don't mind me working 2 jobs, I'll come in here and clean tables and stock stuff and do some of the hard work that gets done in restaurants, the lesser appreciated work that gets done in restaurants, and
the necessary stuff.
Yeah.
Like it gets done regardless whether you want to do it or not.
Yeah,
right.
And I just worked my way up there. I came in. Chef at that time was like, hey, I heard you came from a pizza kitchen. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I need help on our pizza side. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm back in the kitchen then.
Nice.
And after all that, just to say is I said yes to basically everything they asked me to do. Help start the catering department with Derek, formerly he's at Pedal House. I forget if he's still there.
Doc?
No.
I'm like, Doc?
Derek Hansen.
Okay.
Yeah, not Doc.
I heard Doc's a good cook, I've heard. But
yeah. I bet.
Yeah.
Derek Hansen helped start our catering department here, and I worked under him as we built that room that you saw with the Brewers Reserve that we're updating right now, and just little things, taking on little things that they asked me to do. Of, hey, can you jump on this position? Can you handle the expo line, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Just try and say yes to everything. I'm not one of those people that's like, sorry, my job description says this, and that's the only thing I'm going to do for you. So
yeah, well, that's one of the cornerstones to like. Small business, right, is having the people that are willing to do all of those things. It's like, well, you hired me to do this. Like, can't you just grab the cup on your way through? Like,
Yeah.
So I was going to tell you this earlier when we were coming through, and I saw all of the bins with like the steak knives and the forks and the spoons. Like that is back of the house kitchen, restaurant. So my grandmother owned a restaurant growing up. She owned 2 of them for probably about 20 years total. So I remember being in the back, and I remember that, and it brings back good memories. But then I also worked in kitchens, and I hated it.
Yeah.
Right, So it's a cool thing to observe. Is like, as long as even brewing, right?
Yeah.
When I do collaborations, I'm like, I'm here to take video and I'll do some picturesque, mashing out and stuff like that. But I know my specialty, and
I'll never forget. I always pin it back to there was this moment. So there was a group of us busters that all started at Santan around the same time. I think I was probably one of the last ones. Guys like Steven over at Huss and some guys that are not in the industry anymore. We were all busters, and I think all of them went to go be cellarmen. This is back when our canning line was literally just on the other side of this wall. Everything was done here. Warner Santan Gardens didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And everything was done here, and then eventually we opened up Santan Gardens or Warner. And I remember them sitting on one of the front patio tables when I was serving at night, and those guys were just, this is back when you could smoke on the patio, just pound smoke cigarettes and just take down beers and just bitch about how hard their day was.
Yeah.
And one, it gave me an appreciation for cellar work is not easy work. It is the backbone of the brewery.
Yeah.
You know, those guys, you can make all the beer you want. It's not going anywhere if those guys aren't helping to get it out.
Yeah.
But they would just unload on their day. And then in the middle of all that, they'd be like, Hondra, you should come be a cellarman with us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
Horrible pitch.
I'm like,
horrible
no.
sales pitch.
I think sales seems a lot more fun, guys. I'm gonna go that way.
Yeah.
But it's created some really talented brewers through the Cellarman program here, and there's some great ones out there that all started as Cellarman here at one point or another. And we joke that Anthony has a Bill Belichick-esque type brewers tree of people that are now making great beers for other companies that all kind of came from this building, and it's kind of cool to see. And
they actually highlighted in the magazine, right? Didn't they highlight it in Phoenix
was it
magazine?
Phoenix Mag, I think?
Yeah, they did it, him and Andy from Four Peaks.
Yeah, which both of those guys probably, I think there's 6 degrees to one of those two guys of brewers in this state in some way, shape, or form.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no doubt the impact that both of those gentlemen have had on this massively growing industry, and it's cool to be a part of that.
Well, what's it? So, I don't expect you to tell Anthony's story, right? But what is the story of him finding opening right before the recession hit in 08? So
it's Anthony's, as he's explained the story to us when he was at Four Peaks, it was very traditional European style beers. At least back then it was. Obviously, they've really branched out with what they make. And he wanted to focus more on American-style beers. He was really into really hop-forward West Coast-style beers.
Yeah.
And he just took that passion and decided to run with it and try his hand at opening a brewery. Getting the cash to open a brewery back in 2006, 2007 wasn't exactly easy.
Sure.
The stories I've heard, he's had at least 10 banks tell him no. And it took a good friend of his and one of the part owners of Santan, our silent owner, coming in and saying, hey, I'll gladly inject some cash flow into this to get it up and running.
Yeah.
The dream for those guys back then was they just wanted a place to have a hot plate of wings and a good cold beer that they made. And, that was how they're going to end their day. And he always jokes of like, well, you didn't realize that it was going to be 12, 14, 15 hours of brewing every day.
Right.
So that 5 o'clock beer and wings doesn't exactly come from most brewers. And
no.
And that just, that's snowballed eventually. He really wanted to lead with West Coast styles. So, of course, Devil's Ale and Hop Shock were two of the first beers that we made. And very West Coast styles. Most people would argue that Devil's is an IPA. And by BA standards, it probably is.
Yeah.
But we call it an American Pale instead. And those two beers were absolute monsters, and they still are to this day. But, we've progressed forward into Moon Juice coming out where we said, why don't we take a wheat-based IPA? Let's go with these Southern Hemisphere hops that really just give off tropical flavors and fruity flavors as opposed to like the dank, resiny American hops. Back then it was, I think a bag of Nelson or Galaxy hops was, the shipping to get it over here was more than the bag itself.
Sure. Yeah.
And luckily we have contracts to get around that now.
Yeah.
And we just continue to progress. It's, I think all of our beers are pale ales or IPAs on the grocery store shelf as of right now. We'll obviously expand back into wheats and stuff like that, but that's what we know. That's what we like, and we're not we're not going to shy away from that. When people are like, "You guys need to diversify and have," we're like, "Well, we got 5, wildly different hoppy pale ale or IPA styles between." Pebblehead's got a slight sour bite to it. Juicy Jack's your juicy hazy. Mm-hmm. Moon Juice is just your classic wheat-based pale or your wheat-based IPA. And then Devils and Hop Shock give you back to the West Coast. It's like we've got wildly different hoppy styles that we can play with. And that's the cool thing about IPAs is it's less about how many hops you can slam into it, and more about what you're doing with those hops, and that's kind of what IPA's turned into. So
For sure.
yeah, he had a dream to open up his own place, and like I said, the recession made him throw his plan out the window, and just really hope that the people would support him. And one of the things about good times or bad is that people will want to drink, whether they're celebrating or trying to ease the pain of an economic crash.
Yeah. Yep.
Beer sustains, but it also just attributes to they were making good food first, which you can't survive as a restaurant and a brewery, a brew pub, if you're not making great food. Yeah. And they found their way with that, and the kitchen has been cranking out just amazing food ever since I've been here, and the beers followed. It's been a great time to play with ideas with these guys. We made a margarita goza just because I tried one time at GABF, and I came back and said, "Can you guys make one?"
Yeah,
and we did, and we tried it, or just the random ideas. Pebblehead was because a bartender was mixing a couple beers together, and she came to us and said, "You guys have to try this," and we were like, "Yes!" Right in the middle of like a brain fart in COVID, when we're like, "What's our next great beer?" We can't think of anything. The world's shut down. There's it kind of feels like not as important, but we got to get a new beer out there. And Pebblehead was born because a bartender came to us. And there's so many different ways that beers come through here.
How many people work for Santan at this point?
Around 100, I think.
Okay.
I forget what the exact number is.
Yeah.
I know we've been over 100 for a while. I know we were close to 200 when Bethany was open. But I think we're still floating around that 100 to 150.
Gotcha. And you at this point, it's here in downtown. And I always kept Gilbert and Chandler. I'm looking at the wall and I'm like, Gilbert.
Downtown Chandler. You'll never forget.
The door's right there. I only see the ER. I'm like, is that Gilbert? Like, shit, did they lose the T? No, downtown Chandler. And then you guys have the production facility.
We call it Santan Gardens.
Okay.
I have to get that out of my head. I've always called it Warner, or the Rebel Base is what we used to call it.
The Rebel Base.
Yeah. Hey, there's huge Star Wars nerds here, just like myself.
Behind the bar, I'm setting up the camera earlier, and there's like helmets down there.
Yeah,
like
there's a Mandalorian helmet. The Stormtrooper helmet was actually our Christmas tree topper in here for all of Christmas.
That's awesome.
We've got Star-Lord's mask. We've got a Punisher version of the Iron Man mask. So there's like, Anthony is one of the biggest comic book nerds you'll ever meet, and I have a huge affinity for any kind of nerd or geek culture. And you want to talk about the MCU, we could do a whole different episode on that. Yeah. And you can see there's like a Yoda and Star Wars toys up behind me. We try to make this place, a little dialed back from the brew pub. Like, we want it to be a little classier, but we still snuck some nerdy kind of stuff up there. But in the actual brew pub, you'll see Lego sets. So the X-Wing, the Imperial Star Destroyer, Boba Fett ship, all those hand-built by Anthony and Aaron Sanchez, our silent partner.
Really?
Where those guys will just grab a couple beers and just build these massive 2,000-3,000 piece Lego sets of Star Wars ships.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
there's
a lot of nerd culture in here, and we celebrate it.
Well, I mean, there's we were talking earlier about how many the similarities between like barbecue and craft beer, right? There's so many things. Same thing with a nerd culture, man. Like, it's like, know your audience, right? Yeah. Like there's a lot of bleed over of all of those things,
and there's obviously a huge element of, well, we're that audience, so we hope you are too.
Yeah,
that's more of a, it's just kind of like the way we make our beers. Of, well, Anthony and the Brewers really love their hop forward beers. We hope you do too.
Yes,
and you come tell us if you do, by trying the beers or buying it at the grocery store or seeing it on tap, whatever.
Right.
Same thing with the nerd culture. There'll be people that you'll just catch them just staring up at the clouds.
I will be now. Like, what's that?
Just like, oh man, like, I wonder.
Is that a pickled Yoda? Like, what? No. That's
those are actually real life eggs from the Mandalorian that Grogu was eating. For the few people that'll get that right.
I didn't know what that meant, but
I
knew the general area of where you're going with it. Yeah. Oh man. So okay. So Santan is kicking ass, making great beers in Arizona. I remember back, man, this had to have been 2009, and I got a 4-pack of the Devil's Ale, and me and my father-in-law in the hot tub at my condo unit. He was like, dude, that is a fantastic beer. We loved it. Like, we loved the Devil's Ale, and it was different. It was something different that you, like you were talking about before, drinking Yingling and, Coors Light and all that kind of stuff. It was different. But also, you said the Amber is the point of entry, or the gateway.
The gateway,
beer.
yeah.
That was for me too. Yeah. You know, not Epicenter specifically, but another nondescript one.
No, that style is great for getting people into trusting that a dark beer isn't going to be danky every time. And the same thing happened for me. And, you know, Devil's Ale is what put Santan on the map, right? That was the beer that everybody knew Santan about.
Sure.
And I just remember it was a Devil's Ale handle in every bar that I could possibly imagine. And but the times have shifted. The consumer has shifted, and obviously the explosion of hazies has kind of completely derailed what we thought craft beer would be.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun. Craft beer is this huge rainbow, almost literally and figuratively, of all the different styles of beers that you can create and appreciate.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be, you know, a certain set every time, certain style. So you can venture out. I'm the type of person, like, you know, anytime the question comes up of, you know, what's your favorite thing to drink? I'm situational. What am I doing? Who am I with? What am I eating if I'm eating? You know, am I being loud? Is there a lot of energy involved? And, you know, it all depends. Like, it's up in Flagstaff this weekend, you know, I was enjoying Guinness all weekend because it was balls cold, and you know, there's Guinness is, even though it's a cold beer, it feels warming to you.
Sure.
You know, and there's certain styles like that. Left Hand Nitro Milk Stout does the same thing for me. Of it just warms me up, and you know, in the summertime or when I'm playing golf, like, I don't want a heavy IPA.
No, you're not doing a winter warmer on the course.
My golf game is not good enough to survive those kind of beers. You know, where I'm shooting over 100 anyways, I'm playing a whole second round of golf if I'm slamming IPAs.
Yep.
I'm shooting 200 at that point. So, I'm so situational, and that's why I'm super happy that we tapped into the spirits world, because there's a need for that in certain situations. Of, like, you know, I mentioned golf, of we've got our new vodka sodas. I love drinking those on a golf course because, you know, I have something to drink, but I don't feel super weighed down when it's 115 in the middle of local golf season. Yeah. And it's really enjoyable. Or, you know, just a whiskey on the rocks, you know, late at night. That was always my joke of, if you saw me with whiskey neat in my hand, you could pretty much guess that I'm heading to bed in about 30 minutes.
That's the night juice.
Yeah, that's the, all right, I'm done. I'm checking out. I'm going to get one more and we're good. Usually.
Sure.
You know, or just, you know, fun cocktails because we're kind of in an upbeat party mood, and you know, whatever it is, it's all situational. And that's the cool part about Santan branching out into more than just being a brewery, is that we're a beverage company these days. You know, we make a root beer for the pub here. We don't really sell it out elsewhere. Yeah. And then we've got the whole Santan Spirits division, which was born out of curiosity and kind of just a challenge to ourselves. Okay. Anthony, for the listeners that don't know, Anthony Konecki is the founder and owner of Santan Brewing Company and Santan Spirits. He's a huge fan of American single malt, a very underrepresented category in the country and the world. Absolutely. I don't even think it's a recognized category, if I remember correctly. And he wanted to create, you know, we play with malt all day. That's what we do as a brewer. Yeah. So we knew we already did half the process and we were good at it. So we decided, you know, let's try our hand at making spirits. They started on what they lovingly referred to as the Meth Lab Build, which is like cut apart kegs and pieces of metal just welded together. Sure. Where they just wanted to learn the process of distillation. They weren't necessarily going for anything to keep or hold on to. Yeah. Just learn it. Then they ended up getting a still that I think is from like the middle of the woods in Kentucky. Oh, hell yeah. Where like the instructions to use it came in like really backwoods English. Handwritten.
Bootlegger, what is that? That bootleg, the bootlegger show or moonshiners? Yeah. Moonshiners, yeah. I grew up in southern Ohio, or like, you know.
Did you?
Yeah, northeastern Ohio. Yeah. West Virginia, southern.
Just a stone's throw. Yep. That whole stretch between, you know, the Appalachians.
For sure.
Yep. That whole stretch right there. You know, I for sure, when I was hanging out at my friends' colleges in Virginia, I for sure had straight Tennessee moonshine that came from a jar.
The white lightning.
Usually with, with a peach or something in it, where the fruit was usually more...
don't eat that fruit.
Yeah. Usually had more alcohol than the actual moonshine did. And so... he had this mentality of whiskey is what beer wants to be when it gets older. And then also just, I've always joked that Anthony's the kind of guy where if he tastes something that he really likes, he goes, well, I think we can make it better. Whether it's food, you know, we've had plenty of plates here in the restaurant where either Jamie or Anthony or somebody says, you know, I had this really fantastic plate. Can we do it better? Can we do it, you know, as equal? Same thing with the single malt whiskeys. He's like, I think Santan can make a really high quality American single malt whiskey that can help put that category on the map. And sure enough, he was pretty right, because we've won a double gold at San Francisco World Spirits Competition,
which is like
the GABF for us, if you will.
Huge.
You know, it's easily our most decorated bottle. As far as medals and stuff like that go, the bourbon and rye are fantastic as well, and then that's led into just all kinds of other stuff, vodkas and gins and flavored whiskeys, and there's an absinthe.
I'm looking all through. Like it's a lot of these things on your walls are your things.
Yep.
Like there's a handful of things that aren't, that are probably necessary for cocktails, but vodka, gin, rye whiskey. What was it? What's the Jacob Waltz?
So Jacob Waltz is our special bourbon.
Okay.
So we have our bourbon and rye that we put under the Sacred Stave emblem.
Okay.
So Sacred Stave has 3 whiskeys. It's single malt, bourbon, and rye.
Okay.
They're pretty much like your everyday whiskeys. That's the one that doesn't necessarily collect dust on your shelf.
Okay.
That's the one that you come home, pour yourself a finger or two, throw some ice on it, and enjoy your night.
That's the end of the night.
Jacob
Alejandro
Waltz,
drink, right?
yeah. No. Jacob Waltz is the end of the night.
I got you. Okay.
Jacob Waltz is, dad's at the house, special occasion, celebration with the family, whatever.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
That's the bottle that
Okay.
you blow the dust off a little bit. You pull it off the top shelf and you pour a little bit around. Jacob Waltz, if you're not familiar, is the Lost Dutchman of the Superstition Springs.
Okay.
Obviously a very legendary figure here in Arizona.
Yeah.
The counterpart to the Jacob Waltz bottle is called Butcher Jones. That's our rye version.
Okay.
So Jacob Waltz is a bottled in bond bourbon, meaning it's 100 proof, at least 4 years old in the barrels, all from the same distilling season, yada, yada. There's a bunch of stipulations you have to hit.
Yeah.
But it's our higher end bourbon.
Okay.
And it is every bit of fantastic. I think it's the best liquid we've made out of our stills.
Dang. Wow.
It's that fantastic.
Nice.
And I lean more bourbon than rye, where some people would say the Butcher Jones version, which is the rye, is their favorite because they like that heavy spice and that they prefer that style of whiskey over bourbon.
Yeah.
And then Butcher Jones, also a figure from the area, from what I've read about him, was an amateur surgeon, which is how he got his name, Butcher.
Amateur surgeon. That just sounds horrible.
Yeah, right? There's nothing you would like. Your amateur surgeon will be in a minute to give you a consultation. I'm like, I'm sure I'm out of here. And allegedly, Butcher Jones and Jacob Waltz were friends. And whenever Jacob Waltz would come out of the Superstition Mountains, and the legend has it he never went the same way twice, and everything was booby trapped, and we've all heard the myths and stories throughout our whole lives. And that if he ever needed to be mended up, Butcher would help him out. He would come in, get his supplies, and disappear back into the mountains and that fun stuff. I still have a lot more history digging to do on it because they are such interesting mythological kind of style figures, even though they're real.
Yeah.
But obviously that's like we have our own Goonies in the South, in the Superstition Springs, right? There's the Peralta map, which is supposed to lead to the treasure that Jacob Waltz was hiding back there. And we kind of have our own Goonies type story, just not as fun as Goonies was, I guess.
It could be more fun, though.
We need like a group of kids to go find the, it's probably not a pirate ship considering we don't have an ocean here.
Sure.
Maybe there's a giant dune buggy hidden back there or something.
There is, like stone wheels and stuff. Yep.
It's just a wagon. Yeah, it's an old Western wagon filled with gold.
I'm in. My kids are, like we were talking earlier, right? I'm 43. I know you're considerably younger than me, but...
33. I'm not that far behind.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Debatable, but my kids are, we're too old. I'm too old to be doing the adventure side of things.
Yeah.
So I'm going to groom my daughters are 8 and 10. I'm going to start telling them about the stories of, actually that's not a good idea. Then they'll end up in the superstitions, and
you never know, though. Maybe your neighborhood's going to be torn down and they're going to save it one day because they found Jacob's treasure. And
it's true.
And then all of a sudden Hollywood's paying you for the story.
All right, man. I regress my idea. You know what? I need a drink.
That's all right. Let's grab something.
What is this? This is
this is our RTD cocktail. We call it Sunsplash. It's a vodka soda. RTD, for those of you that aren't aware, means ready to drink cocktail.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Soda water, vodka, a little bit of flavor. Simple. Real easy.
Those are the ingredients, like a little bit of flavor.
A little bit of flavor.
Little dropper in the back there. Just a little bit of flavor.
Just, we just kiss a peach to this.
Ooh, that's good, man.
Isn't that refreshing?
I don't find many of these I like. I'll be honest with you. This is good, man. This is good. Is it? Can I see the can?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
5% ABV. It's gluten-free, sugar-free. It is every bit of fantastic as it can be. It is super refreshing.
it doesn't have
and it's
that zero sugar taste, that typical fake
aspartame.
Yeah. It's got a little tartness to it, I think, too.
Yeah,
Maybe it
the
was
peach obviously gives a little bit of that from the flavor that it's got, but it's super clean. That's the whole point. So we actually, Sunsplash is a funny story. Sunsplash is a story of failure.
Okay.
We tried to make Sunsplash into your traditional FMB style hard seltzer. We failed miserably.
What is FNB?
Flavored malt beverage. It's a fancy
okay.
way of saying it's beer, but it's not.
Okay.
And it can go into like Mark's Hard Lemonade is considered an FMB. And White Claw's a hard seltzer that's technically an FMB. So it's basically meaning you used malt to make an alcoholic beverage that isn't technically beer.
Okay.
And we really tried hard because, we're proud of the way that we handle grains. We've been doing it for years. Same thing with the whiskeys. And we're like, no, we can do this. We can make it happen. And credit to our distributors that they're as much of a part of the brain trust as anybody else in this building, where we go to them and say, give us your opinions. And
Like, what do people like?
It's not well received.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought it was pretty close, but it was a resounding kind of response from everybody of like, nah, you guys got this is well underwhelming for something Santan would normally make. And so we actually shelved it. We kept the name Sunsplash. That was what we wanted to go with along the whole time. And we came back to the drawing board. It was actually an R&D guy that we had and hope to get back when he comes back from starting a new family and all that fun stuff. He helped dial in, well, why don't you guys just use the vodka you guys make? He's like, you make a fantastic vodka.
Yeah.
You can make a much cleaner base to this if it's just vodka and soda water, and then you guys figure out the flavor profiles you want to go with. And we went that route, and the first one that came up was peach. We were dumbfounded. There wasn't a single peach RTD, seltzer, anything like that in the market. Everybody was focused on cherry and mango and lime and lemon and citrus and all these other flavors. We couldn't find a single peach. It was one of those things where you feel like you have to be wrong about something, but you're not.
Sure, right. Like the day after you release it, then you're going to find like the biggest.
Somebody's like, what are you talking about? There's a peach one that does 3 million cases a year.
Yeah.
We couldn't find it. And we were just sitting there like, that can't be right. And sure enough, it was, we just went with that flavor because we didn't find really any competition. We found a hole in the market, and it's our number one flavor now for a reason.
I wonder if it's because most of the time peach stuff is gross. Right? I mean, especially it's something like this, right? Where you got the zero sugar, so you're going to add in that whatever you said, aspartame. Is that the?
We don't use aspartame, but that's the flavor.
The flavor you typically get.
The tab thing,
Yeah, well, I think you get that with peach sometimes too. Even if that's not even, even if it's like real sugar, peach sometimes can lend to that. I think if you don't do the drink properly. So that's probably why there weren't any, is because nobody could figure out how to make it good.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great peach beers out there, right? Like Dogfish has had a great one, and Four Peaks has had one forever, and. Peach has always been popular in beer for at least the most part as a seasonal beer. Yeah. And we're just in seltzer. We're like, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
And that was it. So then we went with peach, cherry lime, which evokes memories of like a Sonic cherry limeade.
Yeah.
And then we have a watermelon one that secretly has like a hint of strawberry in it that gives it a slightly different kick. And the three of them are just fantastic. I can drink all three of them pretty much all day. I take them to tailgates, and like I said, this is my golf drink now.
Sure, yeah.
Or just being out in the hot sun and stuff like that. And it's seasonal. If you enjoy drinking vodka sodas, like just pick one up. You got to try it out.
Well, the cherry limeade sounds pretty interesting to me as well. Nice work, man. Nice work to your team on these. I mean, just to see Santan expand from to me, what was Devil's Ale, right?
Yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna knock that chair over at some point. It's not on the camera, but I use my hands. My right karate chop is brutal. Anyway, where was I going to go with this? Okay. So you make something like this because, I mean, there's obviously the demand for it, right? And I mean, sure, you know, like Juicy Jack and the demand for the Hazy IPA, right? You listen to the community. You listen to your customers. You listen to, you know, like you said, your distributors and things like that.
Some of them are gut checks, too. Like,
sure.
It's just, well, why don't we just try it? There's another RTD that I don't have here in front of you that we call Ginger Punk that's more of along the lines of a Whiskey Mule.
Okay.
But it's way different than what we've made, and that was one of those. Well, let's try and make it. Let's see what the response is.
Yeah,
you know, Pebblehead, Stoney Hazy IPA. Definitely not chasing a trend on that one because they're, you know, the hazy, the juicy. There's Juicy Jack there to go after the Juicy Hazy community. Which shout out to Steven for that recipe way back when.
Fantastic. That is a great beer, man.
That is a crushable beer.
Yes,
and for again something that pushes the IPA boundaries of, well, you guys didn't, you know, aggressively bitter hop it. So what? That's the whole idea. But then Pebblehead was one of those beers where we were just like, well, let's try it.
Yeah.
You know, I remember sitting in the conference room upstairs, not this past summer, but the summer before, where we're sitting there. How do we make this beer? What are we going after with this? And it was like, let's just wing it. Let's see if there's a flavor profile of a slightly tart, hazy IPA that people will enjoy. And yeah, it's been really well received. You know, the grocery stores, people have been picking it up left and right, and I absolutely love it. I grew up eating lemons whole, and for
like an apple.
For the Mexican kids out there, eating saladitos, which are just salt rocks, basically dried salted plums.
Yeah.
So like acidity and saltiness has never really bothered me. So having that kind of salty / sour bite in a nice juicy hazy was really a nice treat for me because that reminded me of growing up, where you would take oranges or lemons if you really dared, and you would shove a saladito right in the middle of it and leave it in your fridge overnight or something like that. Because what would happen is all the juice would come into the saladito. It would give the dried salted plum some juiciness back into it, and then the salt would dissipate into the orange.
Yeah.
You just take a spoon and you eat it, and it gave me memories of that.
That sounds fantastic.
This
man.
like slightly citrusy, salty, kind of sour kind of style, and the beer's done really well.
Yeah.
And that's part of just, you know, maybe finding something that isn't popular or trend chasing. And then there's certain things that may look like that or may actually be that.
Yeah.
You got to have a nice blend of it all, though. If you're just constantly chasing trends, people are going to get bored of you. If you're constantly staying away from them, then people aren't going to try something new for the most part. And if you find a nice balance, I feel like you get the best of both worlds.
There's a reason there are trends, right? I mean, and as a business, I kind of go back and forth. I mean, obviously on a much smaller scale, but where it's kind of like, that's the popular thing to do. I'm not going to do it. Then I was like, man, I wish I had did that. I would have done something cool.
Yeah, why?
You know? Why not? Right?
Why do you have to shun it because it's popular?
Yeah, exactly.
Be within reason,
for
obviously,
sure. Right.
You know, if you think, you know, like I said, if Anthony feels like we can do it better or do it with a Santan twist, then yeah, we're going to give it an honest shot. And,
sure.
You know, we're never going to do anything because it's just like, oh, you know, 100 people are drinking this. Let's at least try it. It's, well, what can we do better? What can we do to this to make it our own and stuff like that? So you still got to put your fingerprint on it for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, and you guys are a big involvement with the community too. Like, I mean, you said this is like your neighborhood, right?
Yeah. That's how we find out if we're on the right path. Is listening to the streets.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to tell us? We're open ears, whether it's here at the pubs with our bartenders and servers or through social media, or just, you know, my own cell phone of people calling me and giving me feedback. And
you don't want to open up that door, man, right?
No. That's, I mean, friends and relatives only, right? No, as a salesperson, my phone's always on and to everybody. It has to be. And just getting the feedback from everybody listening to the community, because, you know, what we do matters to them, which means everything else we do that's outside of what are we making matters to them. And that's why we always try and stay involved. And whether it's, you know, supporting a group like the Chandler Compadres, which raises a ton of money for kids organizations all year round.
Nice.
What
do you guys do with them?
We support a bunch of different efforts that they put together.
Okay.
You know, their golf tournament, they have a big gala every year that they put together, and just kind of the little things they do throughout the year. You know, they're constantly coming into the pub to, you know, work their side of the business and their charitable givings and stuff like that. And
nice.
Basically, whenever they come knocking, it's, what do you guys need? Right? We're here. We're here to help because, you know, I think it creates that nice boundary between beer company wanting to help kids organizations but staying distant enough from kids organizations to not, make it look like we're
Yeah,
advertising kids. So,
right.
there's a great mutual benefit there to, hey, look, we really want to raise money for kids, but we're not trying to advertise to them. So
Yeah.
the compadres just are an absolutely great organization. We do stuff for the Humane Society at least once a year.
Okay.
With a partnership with Genuine Concepts, where they do a community handle every month all year round. But we've, for the past, I think 5 years now, they contribute a portion of their sales, and so does Santan, to the Arizona Humane Society, something close to my heart, which people will actually get to see in the new version of the Beard War calendar coming out. The Beer Paw.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it's animal themed. And I got to show off my buddy Kylo, who I adopted, or not me, my girlfriend would kill me. Now my fiance. My fiance would kill me if I took credit for that.
I'm going to send her this clip only. Yeah.
She brought him home from the Humane Society, and he's been, my best friend in my life for the most part. And I got to honor him in the Humane Society in the calendar, and those are a couple of the things that we like to do year round. Smaller Chandler stuff that, we're not one of those people that's like, hey, come check out what we're doing, pat us on the back.
Sure.
So we do quiet stuff for like the Downtown Chandler Community Partnership and just smaller charity events around town. And
yeah. So, nice, man. Nice.
Got to give back, right?
Heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. I mean, it's this industry, I feel, there's just something special to it. I mean, I've said it thousands of times probably, but I don't know. It's sometimes even when breweries seem to be kind of, down on their luck, they're still willing to help other people out. I've seen places that are really struggling through the pandemic and stuff, and they're still doing stuff to raise money for other, it comes
incredible. Back tenfold.
Sure.
When the pandemic hit, we all saw the response of, people knew that we had to hunker down, stay home, work from home, whatever.
Yep.
But to-go orders were doing really well with people that understood of, yeah, I could probably, just rice and bean it up for the next, few weeks. At least back then, that's how long we thought it would take.
Yeah, right.
And, they still came out and supported Santan of ordering to-go food. And not just Santan, breweries all over Arizona.
Sure. Yep.
We all saw kind of a support from the community of, hey, look, we've seen you guys giving back for years, or for those that are brand new, same thing. Like, we know you guys will give back.
Yep.
And people came out in droves and supported the breweries. And I don't think we took as big of a hit to our brewery count that we really could have or should have,
sure,
considering how ugly this pandemic had gotten. And that was in large part because the community looks at their beer community and says, look, these are true people of the community who will always give back in some way, shape, or form. So let's go out and give them a hand when they need it.
Yeah.
And you don't really see that in today's world of
sure,
anti-capitalistic stuff of just, no, let it burn and we'll start from the ground over.
Yeah.
Yep. It was really cool to see of just people like my own friends and family texting me of like, hey, just ordered to go. Hope everything's going all right. Making sure you guys are good. And it helped us all survive. And that's part of the mutual benefit of your community, right? It's not just give. It's not just take. It's give and take all year round.
Yep. Absolutely, man. Well, we're coming up on Beer Week.
Buddy, you ready?
You got what? Yeah, I don't know if I am, honestly.
I mean, this is our first real Beer Week.
Oh, dude, you're taking off. Is this planned? Yeah. You're taking off the.
I'm getting hot and bothered now. Let's talk Beer Week.
Oh man, Beer Week. Yeah. So what has Santan got up their sleeve?
Party. In our 10-day Arizona Beer Week. So things that I know of and can confirm. Obviously, we'll be at Strong Beer.
Okay.
That's
excellent.
a given.
Yes.
We will be there, moving to Bellbank Park for those that are not familiar. That is all the way at Eastmark, literally right next to Phoenix Gateway Airport or Mesa Gateway. Beautiful facility that's getting built out there and should be incredible. A really cool spot to have beer fests. They're even planning future beer fests over there where they have these huge lawns that we can use, and it's going to be a great time. We've got a small sponsorship with those guys out there, but has nothing to do with Beer Week at all. So we're just going to come out. We're going to mix it up this year. We're still hammering our details out, but in years past, we've had kind of a set menu.
Okay.
And said, this is what we're serving all day long, and then maybe one or two beers rotate. This year, we're planning on rotating beers all day.
Nice.
That as of right now, unless anything changes, we're planning on maybe a bullet of each beer, and once it's gone, it's gone.
Okay.
And so the menu is going to be changing through the whole festival.
Nice.
So that's a new thing that we're bringing to this festival. We're still working on, what's going to be the fun side of it. Santan usually brings kind of party element to our festival booths.
Yep.
As we've done for years. We're obviously going to have our spirits and our RTDs there for people to try.
Your food truck?
I don't know if the food truck's going to be there right now.
Great burritos, man. At the Barrels, Bottles, and Brews, man.
Yeah,
those burritos were fantastic.
We had a long line for that truck at Barrels, Bottles, and Brews. And I, as every beer fest has gone, I've always been stuck behind the booth and never gotten a chance to catch up. I'm not doing that at Strong Beer. So if you're doing anything, I'm going to come see you. I'm going to catch up with you at Strong Beer.
Okay, cool.
I'm actually in front of the table this year instead of behind it pouring like I always am. So.
Nice, man.
I'll be able to come hang out. And we're going to bring a ton of rare beers. Obviously, some really high octane beers because that's the name of the fest. We're doing a new version of Kilo Hop that some people out there might be familiar with, which is literally a kilo's worth of hops per barrel brewed.
Kilo Hop, I love that.
And it's been a different hop for the most part. I think it was all Citra way back in the day, if I remember right. This year, we're looking at making an Idaho 7 version, so it'll be a very big Idaho 7 hoppy bomb.
Okay, nice.
Coming in. It's got some honey to balance it out as well. We've got some really other fun beers that are going to be some high octane and some that are going to be right in the middle area.
Okay.
I think we're looking at potentially an Imperial Juicy Jack version coming out, or a slightly different version with different hops. We'll see. So we're getting those things hammered out. We're going to have some fun kind of activation inside of our booth that I'll keep that close to the chest until it's time to go so that people are pleasantly surprised. And it's just going to be an all-around great time. So that's obviously the big one, right? Going into the actual beer week itself, we are looking at bringing back our Brewers Roundtable. So for those of you that are fans and have been to that before, or if you never have, Santana will bring in 3 representatives from other breweries, always local, to come hang out and do a plated dinner.
Okay.
So usually a 4-course meal. We bring in a beer from each of the breweries. We do a pairing with the food, and then a huge open-ended Q&A panel with the panel.
Okay.
So in the past years, you mentioned Doc. We've had Doc on, I think, once or twice now.
Okay. Nice.
Jeff from Huss, and we've had people from really all around. We had the boys from Wren House. Drew came down one year. I think Pat from Wilderness came down. So we've kind of just pulled a little bit from everywhere, and we don't have the list finalized yet. Otherwise, I'd break it to you guys here today. But keep an eye out. If you're not on our email newsletters or anything like that, sign up, social stuff like that.
Okay.
And we'll announce the lineup, and that'll be a fun dinner. That's going to be the Thursday in the middle of actual beer week, not the Thursday that kicks it off.
Gotcha.
So that's going to come back, and then our annual Brews Cruise Brewers Breakfast. Brews Cruise. I'm combining 2 events. Brews Cruise will be happening where we're going to ride to different bars here in downtown Chandler. It's usually about 200, 250 riders that come out for that. And we just stop and we grab food. I think our first stop is going to be at Floridino's, and I believe they're bringing pizza muffins out. If you've never had pizza muffins,
no. Oh, you know what? No. I'm like,
dude,
they sound amazing. I dreamt about them.
Yeah, that is a Chandler staple for sure.
Yeah?
You've got to try pizza muffins from Floridino's.
So when you say ride, what are you riding? Like, is
bikes.
It bike ride? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And if somebody shows up with like an electric scooter or something like that, we're not going to tell them, sorry, you can't join us.
Yeah, get out.
Yeah, you're not cool enough for this club. Members only jacket to get it. So those, you can, ride whatever you want. You got to,
It's a ride. It's a ride.
Big tricycle that we rode as kids or whatever.
With the big front wheel, like
the
the
big wheel. That's what it was. The big wheel.
That one, yes.
Whatever's safe to ride.
Sure.
Come on out. So we'll hit them. We'll go to the distillery for some country tunes, some dancing, and some drinks there, and then we'll end up at Courthouse with the big wide open front porch they have. And
nice.
It's going to be a fun ride. So that will be February 27th, I believe. It's a Sunday.
Okay.
And then the Brewers Breakfast, that's more of an industry thing for the brewers that are in town. That was born out of, way back when strong beer would happen, obviously people would send in their reps or managers or whatever from different states. Colorado breweries would send their people. So there were a lot of people in town that, didn't really know anybody or whatever. It's a little different with people having employees in town, but the spirit of it's still the same.
Yeah.
We all put in about 12 to 13 hours at Strong Beer to get our beers out to the public and to put on a good show for the guild. And the very next morning, we like to open our doors to the industry and say, hey, come on in and have a brewery, or come in and have a breakfast on us.
Yeah.
Share some beers if you guys want to share some beers and talk shop or whatever. And it is one of the cool unifying events in beer in Arizona where, whether they're wearing their logos or not, everybody just comes in and just catches up. And it's one of those, like, we all let the guards down. We're all we're not gunning for a handle or a relationship or anything like that.
Sure.
We can all finally just, how are you?
Yeah.
And actually mean it. And,
just chill.
Everybody loves that event as much as, and I do too. And I can't wait for it to be back this year.
Yeah.
So those are some of the big things that are happening in Beer Week. I'm not sure there's anything else that we have major going on. We're going to have some small events around town.
Okay.
Trivia nights and stuff like that. And if anything else major's coming up, stay tuned at
just
Santan
follow
Brewing.
Santan Brewing. Yeah,
we'll catch you up.
Yeah, excellent, dude. Well, hey, I was gonna cheers, but everything's gone. You have some left, but that doesn't matter, dude.
Here, take that.
Oh, yeah, there is some left. Hey, cheers, man.
It's good to see you, buddy.
You too,
Long
buddy.
overdue, and thanks to you guys for tuning in.
Dude, absolutely. This was well worth the wait, my friend.
Let's work on a collab brew now. Maybe something for IPA day or something.
Oh, I like that. I like it.
Let's plan it out. And,
I got this recorded now.
Let's knock out a beer.
Can't no turning back, my friend.
Oh, no.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys. See ya.